So when did life go from an experience to a performance? And for me, the reason I started reflecting on this topic was because I realized that in my day-to-day life, how much it's centered around seeking validation and asking myself, am I enough? You know, do I look good enough? Do I dress well enough? And am I doing a certain thing good enough to fit in? It's just in the small details of everyday life. It wasn't one big thing that made me realize it. For example, at work, I'll be thinking like, did I dress good enough? You know, do they think I'm rich? Do they think I'm poor? The car I'm driving, do they think like, you know, why am I dressing up like this if he drives a car like that? Like, I'm thinking about all these things, and I was like, why do I think like that? So I started asking myself questions, and the main question I really pondered on is, when did it start? When did life go from, you know, when you were younger, you were just experiencing things and being a kid, right? Being curious and everything like that, and creating, being creative. And then to now, what I found is that the period of my life where this really changed was in high school. You know, that's the time of your life where you're wanting to fit in the most, and you know, you're finding yourself and going from a kid to a teenager and, you know, to an adult. And I feel like that part of my life really shaped me. For context, I had quite a strong friendship and a friendship group in primary school, and I went to high school with most of those guys, so I felt really comfortable for most of my schooling, being in a, you know, same friendship group. I fit in and everything like that. But halfway through high school, I had to move schools because my sister was going to high school and my parents wanted us to be in the same school, so I had to move. I didn't have a choice. Moving schools, that was such a pivotal moment in my life, because for the first time it put me in an environment where I didn't feel like I belonged. All these people, this was year 10, and they've had, you know, the first couple years of high school to get to know each other and build friendship groups, and I was here coming in as a quiet, you know, introverted person. I remember distinctly this one time, I think it was lunch or recess, and I was eating my food. I was eating a muffin, and I was just by myself sitting on a bench. I was watching and observing all these people, you know, having fun and having conversations, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, this is so miserable. If the rest of high school is like this, like, I'm gonna fucking hate my life. Like, I just felt super lonely and super invisible, and that still sticks with me to this day. And during that time of my life, I remember being so scared of hearing the bell when it's lunch or recess. The bell rings at school, right? Whenever I heard that bell, I would fucking panic, bro, because I'm like, you know, at least in class you have to be with each other, you have to talk to each other because you're put in a room together. But when everyone goes to lunch and recess, like, you can do whatever you want and there's no obligation for people to talk to me. So I was like, fuck, man, like, oh my goodness. I hated lunch and recess for the first maybe month of school, until I eventually found some friends. And having that pressure to fit in, like, amplified from moving schools, it created a whole different set of insecurities, and I was setting check boxes for myself to tick. I started observing people more. I became a lot more observant. I started thinking, like, why am I so quiet, and why are some people more magnetic, and why do people gravitate to certain people, right? So I started being more observant, and I think that's why I'm so observant today, you know, of random things, especially with people and people's behaviors. I noticed that people who were louder people who were louder tend to get more attention, and people who were funnier tended to have more friends, and people who looked good were obviously attracted people. So I was like, okay, I started subconsciously creating these check boxes that I have to tick and I have to measure up to. I started taking care of my looks. I started doing skincare, cutting my hair differently, like just investing a lot of time and effort into things I never did before. I started talking more and doing things that I never did to make people laugh. The more I did that, you know, the more I climbed the social hierarchy, and the more I felt seen. Like, people were finally noticing me, and in class I would no longer have to sit by myself. Like, I had a few friends. I just felt like I belonged. And I think at the root of all those insecurities and all those actions was asking myself, do I fit in? Am I good enough? You know, am I enough? And do I belong, right? I think those all, kind of encapsulate why I did what I did. It really changed how I operated and how I thought about people. So that leads me to today, where I'm still trying to overcome the old programming that I've set myself. It's good to reflect back on where it all stemmed from, because instead of just fighting and trying to fix the symptoms, I'm getting to the core of it. The moral of the story, I guess, is I'm starting to learn the value of just being yourself, and you have innate value, right? At the end of the day, you know, you're living for yourself, you're born alone and you're gonna die alone. So that's a bit of a morbid way to, like, a morbid outlook, but it's true. If you keep chasing other people's validation and caring about other people's opinions, then you're gonna make decisions in life based on other people, and you're gonna live for other people, right? And I know I don't want to do that. I know that I have so much to offer. I have so much creativity and talent to put out there, and if I was gonna let other people stop me from doing those things, then I'm gonna reach the end of my life and regret it. Like, I guess live for yourself, you feel me? Reflect on the things that like are shackles. I felt like it was a shackle for me, you know, this way of thinking, because it eats away at you, bro. It really does eat away at you. Like, yeah.